So it's 2021. If I made you think of an all-wheel drive, lifestyle-oriented wagon or crossover, your first thought is definitely a Subaru Outback or a Honda Passport. But what if we went back 30 years? It's this, the 1991 Mercedes-Benz 300TE 4Matic wagon. So this wagon in particular is named Huuptiematic. It's a 1991 300TE 4Matic wagon. It's fairly stock except for some Plastidip on the grille and some knobbier snow tires which really help for traction. You can't really do a lot of suspension mods to these things at all, really. For some reason, Mercedes-Benz thought it was a good idea to run the drive shaft through the front springs. I know, I don't know why. So these things are surprisingly good off-road. Most 4Matic 300TE wagons have around 6.5 inches of ground clearance, which I know is over 1.5 inches lower than an Outback, but we're talking about a 30-year difference in wagons. The four-wheel drive system of the 300TE 4Matic is where things get interesting. This uses the first generation of 4Matic all-wheel drive. On-road four-wheel drive was pretty new back in the late 80s and 90s, and Mercedes-Benz came in full swing. A majority of the on-road all-wheel drive market came from Subaru in the late 70s and 80s, and at one point Toyota even offered an all-wheel drive Camry back in the day.
You're driving the Toyota Camry All-Track. It's got all-wheel drive to pull you through.
4Matic is controlled by several computers that are hooked into the ABS system, and it can either send power to just the rear wheels, 35% to the front, and 65% of power to the rear, or a direct 50-50 split.
In Mode 0, the automobile is in rear-wheel drive, which is its normal operating mode. In Mode 1, you have four-wheel drive balanced with a 35 to 65% torque distribution front and rear. In Mode 2, the central differential is locked, providing a 50-50 distribution of engine torque front to rear. In Mode 3, the rear differential is locked, transmitting torque to both rear wheels equally. The central differential remains locked. In this mode, 4Matic provides maximum traction in low-speed startup situations like mud or loose pavement.
So practicality is always where these station wagons will shine. What's nice about the 300TE is that it has the off-road capability of a light truck, the performance of a car, and the trunk space of a van. Because, oh, there's an incredible amount of space behind the second row of seats. So behind the second row of seats, you have just under 43 cubic feet of volume, which is pretty big. It has a big trunk. The only difference between this and probably a Volvo 245 wagon or 740 wagon of this vintage is you could probably fit bigger things like boxes in the Volvos, because the rear window, the rear end is straight up and down, when this one has a bit of an edge to it. But if you fold the second row of seats down, you get 77 cubic feet of volume. So to drop the rear seat in the 300TE, it's not a hard process, but just follow me and you'll figure it out. So the first thing that you do is pull the headrest out. And then the second thing you do is pull the bottom of the seat up with this little lever over here. Then you do that. Then you give the back of the seat a yank. And then you have to make sure that there's a hole on the top of the seat that locks in. So now it's secure. And then now you can put the headrest in these little holes here, and then it fits perfectly. And then it folds completely flat too, which adds to the versatility of this thing. So clearly there's an SUV load of space back here when all the seats are folded flat. But wait, there's more. Okay, so I removed the headrest off of the front passenger seat. There's this little button right here, a secret button that lets you release it and pop it out. But now there's this other party trick. So pull this, give it a yank. Oh, okay. So after that, you have to make sure that the front seat is slid all the way forward. And then you can recline the seat back, and from what it seems to look like, it turns into a bed. There we go. So you could just lie down in it. And also on top, these things came standard with roof racks. This one has an aftermarket one on it, but it just adds to the utility of this wagon. Another common trait of these lifted wagons is their comfort, and the 300TE definitely does not disappoint. This particular 300TE has worn and shown its age a little bit, like in the seat and the wood trim, but when you get inside of it, it's super comfortable to sit in here. The seats are really soft and comfortable. The doors are they're like bank vaults. Like, listen to that. Like a bank vault. And it's so nice and plush in here. Everything that you feel is soft. The dash, everything feels of quality. The interior of this is simple and classy, and I love it. This is old luxury, and I love old luxury. All the controls are easy to find and easy to read. There's not even that many buttons in here, which I do like. I do find it interesting that the window switches are in the center console and not on the doors, but just like the newer Mercedes-Benz, all the seat controls are on the door themselves. And honestly, the rear seat isn't that bad either. That looks like a lot of legroom, but let's sit in here. Step in height is pretty nice because the car isn't that high off the ground. And I still have, the seat is in my driving position. I'm about 5'9", and I have like 2 inches of legroom, and I can fit my feet under the seat real comfortably. And I have good headroom. So, you know, I'm sitting back and I'm real comfortable. A quirk about the interiors of these cars is that there's no cup holders. If you notice, there's nowhere to put a cup. That's something annoying. There also isn't a glove box. You just have this center console, which it's underneath here. You can put some kinds of things in there, but not a lot. There's not a lot of storage. Mercedes didn't think of storage when they built these cars. So under the hood of all 300TEs in America is this 3-liter inline-6, also known as the M103. It makes 177 horsepower and 188 pound-feet of torque. It's paired to a 4-speed automatic transmission and 4Matic 4-wheel drive. Back in the day, this was actually a 4-wheel drive system, an on-road 4-wheel drive system. For fuel economy, these things are kind of piggish. 15 in the city and 18 on the highway. Those are the same numbers that I get with my V8 Volvo XC90. So if you pull this is like the red button that you should not touch. It disengages the 4Matic system. So do not touch that. Another thing that I like about these old Mercedes-Benz from the 80s and 90s is the way how the doors open and close. Listen. One advantage that a brand new Outback has over a 300TE 30 years ago is that a fully loaded Outback today is just over 40 grand. This 300TE will surprise you. The base price of a 91 300TE 4Matic wagon is $57,000. This car, as it's equipped, is $62,000 in 1991. That is over $100,000 today. The $100,000 Outback right here.